When we go to Manchester, we most likely arrive at Piccadilly Station. But when it opened in 1842, its purpose was written in steel and smoke. This station was not built for passengers. It was built for industry. It is the physical record of how industry built an entire city. People came later. Manchester Piccadilly is not just a railway station. Today, Manchester Piccadilly is the busiest railway station in northern England and the third busiest outside of London. To put that in perspective, its annual passenger traffic is greater than the entire population of Australia. This hub is powered by over 1,200 trains on a typical weekday, serving 17 platforms. It is the operational heart for 5 major train operators, including the key intercity carriers Avanti West Coast and TransPennine Express. More than 30 million passengers move through this building every year. It's not just a local stop. It's a national nexus. Its busiest artery is the West Coast Main Line to London Euston, with trains departing every 20 minutes. Equally vital are the TransPennine routes to Leeds and York, and the northern axis to Glasgow and Edinburgh, each seeing hundreds of services weekly. To a modern traveller, it feels like a standard transport hub. Busy, functional, efficient. But what we see today is only the surface. The structure underneath belongs to a very different city. A city that did not move people, but moved goods.
Why Manchester Piccadilly Station is called Piccadilly?
The name Piccadilly can be misleading. It sounds important, almost ceremonial. The name Piccadilly did not originate with the railway. It comes from the Piccadilly area of Manchester, a district that existed long before trains arrived. In fact, the word Piccadilly is believed to derive from the 17th century term Piccadille or Piccadilly, referring to the stiff, ornate collars worn by fashionable Londoners, a sartorial flourish imported into the rising industrial north. For much of its history, the station was not even called Piccadilly. When it first opened in 1842, it was known as Store Street Station, a purely functional name referencing the warehouses and goods yards it was built to serve, not passengers. In 1847, it was renamed Manchester London Road, reflecting its role as a gateway towards the capital, rather than as a civic landmark in its own right. For over a century, this was its identity. Generations of Mancunians knew it only as London Road, a name that spoke of departure and connection to elsewhere. It was only in 1960, amid a wave of modernization and a desire to assert a stronger local identity post-war, that the station finally adopted the name Manchester Piccadilly. It followed the lead of the adjacent Piccadilly Gardens, the city's redeveloped central square, effectively anchoring the station within the city's own mental map. The change was met with some public nostalgia, but ultimately succeeded. The old London Road faded from timetables and popular memory, cementing the station as an integral part of Manchester's urban core, not just a line on a railway map. The story begins in 1842, at the peak of the Cottonopolis era. What we now call Manchester Piccadilly opened under a very different name, Store Street Station. It was built by the Sheffield, Ashton-under-Lyne, and Manchester Railway, a company created to serve a city where over 60% of the world's cotton was processed, rather than the traveling public. This was not a passenger-focused railway. It was designed to connect the hundreds of factories and mills with regional supply chains. The station's design was brutally functional. Initially, it had just 2 through platforms, dwarfed by expansive goods yards and warehouses. Its tracks were laid not for speed, but for the heavy, slow movement of freight trains. The logic behind Store Street Station was simple and uncompromising. Raw materials came in, thousands of tons of American raw cotton via Liverpool and coal from the Lancashire mines. Manufactured goods went out. Millions of yards of finished cloth bound for the port of Liverpool and global markets, transported on a network that soon extended to London and the Midlands. The station became the nexus of a rail network that supercharged Manchester's economy, supporting an industrial workforce of hundreds of thousands. It didn't just serve the city, it physically reconfigured it, concentrating warehouses and ancillary industries around its perimeter. Piccadilly grew in geological layers, each one a direct response to pressure, not vision. In the 1850s, the pressure was raw capacity. As trains stretched from 4 to 8 carriages, the response was brute force. Platforms were simply lengthened piece by piece, pushing further into the surrounding streets. By the 1880s, the problem was shelter. The exposed, soot-filled yards were untenable. The solution was the vast, curving Victorian train shed. It can shield steam locomotives from rain and goods from damp, keeping the economic machine dry and running. The turn of the century brought the pressure of complexity. New tracks were threaded into the existing web. Points and crossings multiplied, creating a puzzle of slow-speed junctions that traded speed for sheer throughput. The mid-20th century's pressure was technological. Electrification. The Victorian roof had to be reinforced to bear the weight of 250,000 volts of overhead line equipment. Platforms weren't widened, they were reprofiled. Every intervention, longer platforms, heavier roofs, tighter junctions, reinforced structures, solved an immediate numerical problem. More tons, more trains, more volts, more people. The result is a station where you can walk from a 19th century brick arch, through a 1960s concrete underpass, and up into a 21st century glass atrium in 30 seconds. That is why Piccadilly feels perpetually provisional. Over time, Manchester changed. Heavy industry declined. Service economies grew. Commuting replaced manufacturing.
3 things about Piccadilly you don't know.
During World War II, the old clock in the hall of Manchester Piccadilly was the city's most famous meeting spot. Legend has it that in the winter of 1943, a soldier named Thomas bid farewell to his lover Eleanor there. Before leaving, he clasped her hand and promised, "No matter what happens, I will return to meet you under this clock at noon on the first Saturday after the war ends." On V-Day, the station was filled with reuniting crowds. Eleanor arrived as promised, waiting beneath the clock. But Thomas never appeared. She waited Saturday after Saturday, until finally she stopped coming. For decades, station staff have reported sightings, especially at midnight on foggy nights or near V-Day, standing quietly beneath the clock as if still waiting. Even today, some platform alignments still follow steam-era constraints. Track curvature, spacing, and approach angles were designed for steam locomotives, not modern electric units or high-frequency passenger services. These decisions, once locked into the ground, were never fully undone. During the late 1980s, Manchester's abandoned industrial spaces took on a second life. Warehouses, tunnels, and unused rail structures became backdrops for a new cultural movement. Bands like the Stone Roses emerged from the same landscape of decline and reinvention. Fans later began to refer to these forgotten spaces as ghost platforms. Not because trains once stopped there, but because culture did.
Piccadilly and the city's next stop.
Manchester Piccadilly Station was not built to impress. Industry came first, the city followed. Passengers adapted. It was built to work, and it still does. Manchester Piccadilly is not a monument. It is a machine that never stopped running.